Have you ever had that instinctive feeling, that shiver down your spine when someone says something seemingly normal, but something inside you knows something's wrong? That feeling isn't paranoia or exaggeration. It's your protective instinct, speaking, an ancestral wisdom encoded in our being that helps us sense danger before our conscious mind can even process it. When it comes to relationships, this intuition is especially valuable, because truly dangerous men rarely come with clear warning signs. They don't carry labels that say caution manipulator or danger controller. Instead, they're often charming, attentive, and extremely skilled at hiding their true intentions. The great psychologist Carl Jung spoke about the nature of the shadow, the part of ourselves we hide not only from others, but also from ourselves. We all have a shadow, but the difference between healthy people and dangerous people lies in how they handle that inner darkness. While emotionally mature people acknowledge and integrate their shadow, emotionally dangerous men project it onto others, especially romantic partners. It's in their words that this shadow often reveals itself. In seemingly innocent phrases, in casual remarks, in statements framed as expressions of love or concern. To the untrained ear, they might sound normal, but upon closer examination, these phrases reveal disturbing thought patterns that may signal the potential for manipulation, control, or even abuse. Today, we'll explore these revealing phrases, not to demonize all men, or suggest that anyone who occasionally says something problematic is automatically dangerous. We all say thoughtless or immature things in moments of stress or insecurity. The difference lies in the pattern, the frequency, and the refusal to acknowledge the impact of those words when confronted. These phrases are red flags, not final verdicts. They're invitations to pay attention, to look closer, to honor that intuition whispering, "Be careful," even when everything seems fine on the surface. You're overreacting. You're imagining things. It's just a joke. Can't you take a joke? When an emotionally dangerous man uses these phrases, he's not just expressing a difference of opinion, he's systematically invalidating your emotional reality and perceptions, a process that gradually erodes your confidence in yourself and your judgment. The seemingly simple phrase, "you're overreacting," hides one of the most dangerous patterns in relationships: emotional invalidation. When a man consistently responds to your concerns, fears, or hurts by saying you're overreacting, he's effectively denying your emotional reality. Jung spoke about the importance of honoring our emotions as messengers of the psyche. When we feel anger, sadness, or fear, those emotions are trying to communicate something important. A respectful partner will understand this, even if they don't agree with your interpretation of the situation. An emotionally dangerous man, however, sees your emotions as inconveniences, obstacles to be overcome or dismissed, not as valid expressions of your inner experience. He's not interested in understanding why you feel the way you do. He's interested in making you stop expressing emotions that bother him. Over time, this constant invalidation can lead you to question your own perceptions. Maybe I'm being dramatic, you think. Maybe I'm overreacting. This is the beginning of gaslighting, the practice of manipulating someone into doubting their own sanity. In a healthy relationship, your partner might not fully understand why something hurts you, but they'll respect that you're hurt. They might say, "I didn't mean to hurt you, but I see you're upset. Let's talk about it." Even more direct is the phrase, "you're imagining things." Whether outright or in subtler variations, "that never happened," or "you're confused," or "I didn't say that." This is the essence of gaslighting, denying someone's reality until they start doubting their own perceptions. The term comes from a play and film where a man manipulates his wife by altering small things in her environment and then denying any changes occurred, to the point where she questions her own sanity. It's a deeply harmful form of psychological abuse that attacks the foundation of mental health, your trust in your own experience of the world. An emotionally dangerous man will use this tactic to avoid accountability, maintain power, and gradually erode your confidence until you become entirely dependent on him to interpret reality. This might start small and almost imperceptible. He denies saying something you clearly heard. He insists an event unfolded differently than you remember. He Claims you agreed to something you know you never accepted. Individually, these incidents might seem like small misunderstandings, but over time, they form a pattern where you're consistently portrayed as unreliable, confused, or irrational, while he's always the sensible one, the one who remembers correctly, the one who interprets reality accurately. From a Jungian perspective, this represents a profound violation of another person's psychic integrity. Jung emphasized honoring our subjective experience as the foundation for healthy psychological development. When someone systematically denies or distorts that experience, it creates a form of psychological violence with lasting damage. Another classic manifestation of this pattern is the phrase, "It's just a joke. Can't you take a joke?" Humor can be one of the most beautiful expressions of intimacy. Inside jokes reflecting shared experiences, light teasing showing mutual comfort, laughter strengthening connection. But in the hands of an emotionally dangerous man, humor can become a sharp weapon disguised as playfulness. This phrase usually follows a humiliating comment, a degrading remark, or a joke that's really a veiled criticism. When you express hurt, instead of validating your feelings or apologizing, he flips the script, suggesting the problem isn't the offensive remark, but your inability to take a joke. In Jungian terms, this can be seen as shadow projection, where his own negative traits like cruelty or a desire for control are projected onto you, making you seem like the problem for not having a sense of humor, rather than him for making hurtful comments. This tactic is particularly effective because it makes you doubt your own reaction. Maybe I'm being too sensitive, you think. Maybe I need to lighten up. Over time, you might start accepting treatment you secretly know is disrespectful because you've been conditioned to question the validity of your own feelings. An emotionally healthy partner might occasionally make a joke that doesn't land, but their response upon realizing it hurt you will be drastically different. They'll say, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize that would hurt you," or "Thanks for telling me how that made you feel. I won't make that kind of joke again." Trust your perception. If something feels off, it probably is. Your memories, feelings, and experiences are valid, even when someone tries to convince you otherwise. "I just want to know where you are all the time because I care about you. No one else needs to know about our relationship. You belong to me." Control rarely presents itself as control. It comes disguised as love, concern, and care. And perhaps no phrase exemplifies this disguise better than, "I just want to know where you are all the time because I care about you." On the surface, it sounds reasonable. After all, it's natural to worry about the safety of those we love. But there's a crucial difference between genuine concern and control masked as concern. Jung spoke of the need for psychological space for individual growth. Just as a plant needs room to spread its roots, humans need autonomy to develop their individuality. A man who respects you as a person will understand that you have a right to your own life, your own movements, your own connections, independent of him. An emotionally dangerous man, however, sees your independence as a threat. Every moment outside his surveillance is an opportunity for you to exist beyond his control, and that's intolerable to him. Notice how this phrase puts you in an impossible position. If you resist constant monitoring, you're rejecting his concern, being ungrateful for his care. If you give in, every area of your life gradually falls under his scrutiny. Your conversations, friendships, movements, even your thoughts. In a healthy relationship, trust is the foundation. Your partner trusts that you'll make appropriate decisions about your own life. He may want to know you're safe, but he doesn't demand constant access to your location, communications, or time. Another disguised control tactic is the phrase, "No one else needs to know about our relationship." Privacy and discretion in a relationship are healthy to a point. Not every aspect of an intimate connection needs to be public, but when a man insists your relationship must be kept completely secret, especially from the people who care about you, that's rarely a good sign. Jung spoke about the importance of community and social connections for psychological well-being. When we see our partner only through our own eyes, we lose the broader perspective that friends and family can offer. people who know our history, values, and relationship patterns. A man who systematically isolates you from your support network is effectively removing mirrors that could reflect truths about the relationship he'd rather you not see. This phrase might come in various disguises. What we have is too special to share. Others will just interfere and not understand. It's better to keep this between us for now. Regardless of the justification, the effect is the same. You become isolated without external feedback or support. Isolation is one of the most effective tactics used by emotionally dangerous people. Without points of comparison, outside perspectives, or anyone to say, "That doesn't seem right," you gradually lose the ability to objectively assess the health of the relationship. In healthy romantic relationships, while there's privacy, there's no need for total secrecy. Your partner will feel comfortable being part of your broader social life. They'll understand that your connections with friends and family matter, not just for your well-being, but for the health of the romantic relationship itself. The phrase, "You belong to me," reveals a fundamentally distorted view of love. It turns a person into property, an object to be owned, rather than a complete human being with their own rights, needs, and desires. From a Jungian perspective, this reflects a failure to recognize the other as a full thou, to use philosopher Martin Buber's term, often referenced by Jung. Instead of an I-thou relationship, where two individualities meet in mutual recognition, the man who says "you belong to me" creates an I-it dynamic, where you're reduced to an object under his control. This possessive mindset often manifests in controlling behaviors, dictating what you wear, who you speak to, how you spend your time. In its most extreme form, it can lead to dangerous coercive control, where every aspect of your life falls under his dominion. Particularly concerning is how this ownership mentality intensifies when the relationship is threatened. A man who believes he owns you often feels entitled to decide when and how the relationship ends. The idea that you could choose to leave is seen as a violation of his ownership rights. "All my exes were crazy. No one will ever love you like I do. If you really loved me, you'd do this for me. You make me lose control. If you really loved me, you'd never question me." These phrases reveal deeply problematic patterns of emotional manipulation, avoidance of responsibility, and distortions of what it means to love and be loved. They're designed to undermine your self-confidence, make you doubt your worth, and create an emotional dependency that makes it hard to leave the relationship. When a man describes all his ex-partners as crazy, psycho, unstable, or similar derogatory terms, he's not just sharing relationship history. He's revealing something deeply troubling about how he views women who don't meet his expectations. In Jungian psychology, this can be understood as projection, the unconscious process of attributing to others the qualities we refuse to recognize in ourselves. The man who won't take responsibility for his own problematic behaviors projects all the blame onto his ex-partners. This phrase is particularly revealing because it establishes a pattern. One difficult relationship can happen to anyone. Two messy relationships might still be bad luck or questionable choices. But when all exes are characterized as problematic, the only common denominator is him. What makes this phrase even more significant as a red flag is what it suggests about your future with this man. If every woman who left him or disagreed with him was eventually labeled crazy, what's stopping the same from happening to you? An emotionally mature man will acknowledge his role in past relationship failures. He'll say things like, "We weren't compatible, we both made mistakes," or "I learned a lot about myself in that relationship." The phrase, "No one will ever love you like I do," is often presented as the ultimate romantic declaration, the expression of a love so unique and irreplaceable. In movies and songs, it might even sound poetic. But in real life, especially when spoken by an emotionally dangerous man, these words carry a far more sinister message. What he's really saying is, "You won't find anything better than this. You should settle for me, no matter how I treat you, because no one else will want you the way I do." Jung spoke of the importance of recognizing our intrinsic worth, independent of external validation. A man who truly values you would never try to convince you that your worth is tied to his ability to love you. Instead, he'd recognize that you're fully deserving of love, attention, and respect from him and anyone else privileged to be in your life. This phrase is particularly dangerous because it plants the seed of fear of being alone. It creates a false dichotomy where your only options are 1, stay with him, or 2, be alone forever. It ignores the reality that there are billions of people in the world, many of whom could offer healthy, mutually nourishing love. An emotionally mature partner celebrates your autonomy. He understands that you choose to be with him, not out of fear or dependence, but because the relationship adds value to your already complete life. He would never use the fear of loneliness as a tool to keep you in a relationship that doesn't serve your growth and happiness. The phrase, "if you really loved me, you'd do this for me," represents one of the most dangerous distortions of love. The idea that loving someone means fulfilling their every desire, no matter how you feel about it. It's a manipulation that turns love from a connection between equals into a transaction, where you must continually prove your love through submission. From a Jungian perspective, this reflects a profoundly immature understanding of love. Jung saw true love not as fusion or subjugation, but as a space where two individualities can flourish side by side, each respecting the other's integrity. An emotionally dangerous man uses this phrase to erase your boundaries. When you express discomfort with something he wants, whether related to physical intimacy, financial decisions, how you spend your time, or anything else, he doesn't respect your no. Instead, he frames your resistance as your failing. You don't love him enough. This tactic is particularly insidious because it attacks your identity as a loving, committed partner. If you see yourself as someone who loves deeply and values relationships, being accused of not loving enough can be deeply unsettling. Over time, this can lead to a pattern where you increasingly ignore your own limits, desires, and instincts to prove your love. Your needs become secondary. Your discomforts are seen as obstacles to overcome, not important signals to honor. Few phrases reveal more about a man's emotional immaturity than "you make me lose control." At its core, it's an abdication of responsibility, a blame shift. That makes you accountable for his behavior. In Jungian psychology, this represents a fundamental failure in personality development, the inability to acknowledge and own one's shadow aspects. Instead of saying, "I struggle with anger," or "I need to work on how I express frustration," the emotionally dangerous man says, "You made me this way." This phrase is especially alarming when used to justify outbursts, controlling behavior, or any form of abuse. It's classic abuser logic. "I didn't want to yell at you, but you provoked me. I wouldn't have checked your phone if you hadn't given me reasons to distrust you." What makes this phrase particularly dangerous is that it sets a frightening precedent. You become responsible not just for your own actions and emotions, but for his. If something goes wrong, if he gets angry, if he becomes controlling, if he loses control, the fault is yours. An emotionally mature man understands that his feelings are his own. He might say, "I feel frustrated when this happens," or "I'm having trouble managing my feelings right now." He takes responsibility for his reactions, even when they're triggered by something you did or said. The phrase, "if you really loved me, you'd never question me," reveals one of the most distorted understandings of love. The idea that true love means blind acceptance and unquestioning obedience. It's an attempt to use your emotional commitment against your critical judgment. From a Jungian perspective, this mentality reflects a deeply immature view of healthy relationships. Jung valued the creative tension that arises when two whole individualities meet, not in fusion or subjugation, but in authentic dialogue that includes both harmony and constructive disagreement. An emotionally dangerous man doesn't seek this kind of equal partnership. Instead, he wants submission disguised as love. By equating questioning with disloyalty, he creates a false choice. Either voice legitimate concerns or prove your love. This tactic is particularly manipulative because it attacks your identity as a loving partner. If you see yourself as someone who loves deeply and values relationships, as most people do, the suggestion that your questions or concerns mean you don't love enough can be deeply destabilizing. In a healthy relationship, questioning isn't seen as disloyalty, but as a natural part of mutual understanding and growth. An emotionally mature partner isn't threatened by legitimate questions. He understands that real love doesn't require blind obedience. It thrives on honest communication, even when that communication is challenging. As you read about these revealing phrases, you may have recognized patterns in your current or past relationships. Perhaps you felt that shiver of recognition, that moment of clarity where the puzzle pieces start falling into place. This realization can trigger an emotional storm. Shock at seeing the manipulation, grief for the relationship you thought you had, anger at having been deceived, fear of what this means for your future, and even doubt. Am I overreacting? Am I misreading things? First, know that all these reactions are normal and valid. Recognizing toxic patterns in meaningful relationships is deeply challenging, especially because emotionally dangerous men are experts at making you doubt your own perceptions. Second, remember that relationships exist on a spectrum. Not every man who occasionally says problematic things is a calculating manipulator or abuser. We all have moments of immaturity, insecurity, or poor communication. The crucial difference lies in consistent patterns, the frequency of these behaviors, and the willingness to acknowledge and work on them when confronted. If you've identified several of these patterns in your current relationship, here are some steps to consider. Trust your gut. That inner voice saying something's wrong deserves to be heard. Often our bodies know something's off before our conscious minds fully process it. Seek outside perspectives. Emotionally dangerous men often isolate their partners precisely to avoid this crucial step. Talk to trusted friends or family about your experiences. Their reactions can help recalibrate your sense of what's normal versus problematic. Consider individual therapy. A qualified therapist can provide a safe space to explore your feelings, validate your experiences, and help you develop strategies to move forward, whether within or outside the relationship. Create a safety plan. If you're in a relationship where there's a risk of physical violence or severe retaliation for setting boundaries, careful planning is essential before taking any action. Domestic violence resources can help craft a plan prioritizing your safety. Remember, your worth isn't defined by this relationship. Another facet of Jung's shadow is that it carries seeds of growth and transformation. The same qualities that may make you vulnerable to manipulation, empathy, a desire to understand others, an ability to see the best in people, are also deep wells of strength when directed with discernment. Women who've emerged from relationships with emotionally dangerous men often develop sharper intuition, healthier boundaries, and deeper self-awareness. The experience, though painful, can be a catalyst for growth and self-discovery. Jung's work teaches us that integrating our experiences, even painful ones, is the path to wholeness. Recognizing these patterns isn't just about identifying problematic behaviors in others. It's about honoring your own story, growing in self-knowledge, and cultivating future relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. Ultimately, the goal isn't just to avoid emotionally dangerous men, but to develop a connection with your own truth so strong that you instantly recognize when someone tries to undermine it. It's about forging a bond with your own worth so unshakable that phrases like the ones we've explored today lose their power to manipulate. Because you deserve relationships that reflect not just your beauty, but your strength. Not just your care, but your truth. Not just your love, but your power. And that journey begins with the courageous act of listening to that inner voice that always knew the difference between real love and control disguised as love. That voice that perhaps is even now whispering, "You deserve more, you always have." And that voice, your voice, is absolutely right.